Hey, Rid.
Hey, Brad. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's jump right in. What has you waking up excited these days?
Man, I'm having more fun as a designer right now than I ever have in my career. Like I've been waking up every day and thinking about digital interfaces on various types of devices for so long, right? Until you kind of get into a groove where I know what my profession is, I'm good at it, I've put in the reps, I understand how to think about it, and then I feel like in the last 6 months even, everything's kind of just been bazookaed and then I'm figuring out how to like reassemble it. But it's really, really fun and I'm able to do things and own things that I didn't think I'd ever have the right or ability to play with. And so I write so much code every day. It's fun, man. I'm having so much fun. Like I'm my days end and I'm like, I wish it wasn't over. Like I wake up so excited to get on my computer and build software. And I didn't think that I would be living in this state of mind or state of world. It's a blast. It's a blast.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing. So it just feels like you're like, okay, cool. This is just a bazooka of opportunity. I like that word. I'm going to
totally.
steal that as a
There's probably a more eloquent way to say that.
no. That's fine. That's fine. Something happened in the last 6 months, even or 6 weeks or six
I
days
can
or six
code now.
hours.
It's like simple as that, Like I knew a little bit. I knew enough to like annoy engineers with the random PR or like mess around with some Tailwind stuff. But now I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll build multiple features today, and it will be exactly as I want them. Every single pixel, every single animation, every single easing curve, every single hover state, everything will be 100% like up to me to decide and execute against. And for every other time that I played in code, you have this taste execution gap that is the Grand Canyon as somebody who's been designing for a long time but has a very limited set of front end skills. And now it's just kind of gone. And every time I feel a new one, I'm able to intentionally point like Claude and like, I want to close this gap. Let's talk about it. Like, how do I close this gap? And then I can normally get there, either by identifying the right resources or I'll make some kind of a skill, or a lot of times I'm just like learning more specific, higher leverage language to use to get what I want out of the models. Like man, I don't know if you feel this, Brad, but like I feel so powerful in a way that's really exciting. Like maybe overconfidence, maybe the pendulum will swing back to a more healthy spot. But right now, I feel like I'm shooting lightning tips. I feel like I'm shooting lightning out of my fingertips, and then I can do anything, and nobody can stop me.
I think yeah, you're touching on a whole lot of things. I think that the learning how to learn has always been a really important skill, I think, to
Mm-hmm.
cultivate. And then I think what you're describing as that here's this Grand Canyon that you couldn't historically Evil Knievel your way over that Grand
Yes.
Canyon.
Now
You
that's a
gotta
verb.
like, and now it's like, oh yes, that chasm is a lot smaller and that jump is actually possible, and even that jump you're able to reevaluate. You're like, there's still some space here, or you bump into something and you don't feel like, well, I'm stuck and I'm going to spend like the next like 5 hours just kind of troubleshooting
Yeah.
some weird obtuse issue that you have no business knowing about. And yeah, it's and that allows you as a single person to realize the ideas that are in your head and get
Yeah.
them out into the world.
Yeah. You're just like, you're less reliant on people. And I do think there's an element of, I want to be equally or even more so collaborative with others. And I think I'm still figuring out what collaboration looks like in this world where you kind of feel like you can do everything. But I mean, I can, the things that was good at, obviously AI is an amplifier, but then the things that I am curious about, but I don't necessarily have even the foundational skill sets, I'm able to do something. I'm able to get something. Like I'm not an artist, like that's not me. I can't really draw things that well. I can't visualize more artistic like animations, compositions. Like I'm a technical designer. I like thinking in code and rules and systems. Like that makes so much sense to me. But if you're like, make a nice motion composition for this, whatever you're making, like I
Yeah.
freak out a little bit, but but I'm able to get to like a pretty decent base. I'll give you a quick story. Like 2 nights ago, I got a sneak peek of Jitter AI. Jitter's like this motion tool that I really like. By the way, it's the best flavor of Waterloo. And I'm playing with this thing. I'm not a motion designer. I have no real skills, period. Period. But they released this feature where you could just describe something and then it gives a set of parameters in the sidebar where you can control this animation and maybe like export it as a shader or something. My starting spot was, I didn't even type anything into Jitter. I just typed into Claude and I was like, I have no idea what I should do here. Like, how fun would it be to create something that feels like it's underwater though? Like, how do I even think about what the prompt should be? Because I don't have any language for that, you know? And it's like going through and Claude's like, well, you could go in this direction or this direction or this direction. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's do that one. And then I realize, oh, the language that I need is this idea of like caustics, like the water reflections, like the light reflections on water. That's like the ripple effect that you would see in a pool. I didn't have that word in my vocabulary, but Claude gave it to me. And then it gave me the rabbit hole to explore within that world. And now all of a sudden I'm getting a bunch of really high fidelity prompts and I'm just putting them in. I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. Whoa, I love that one. What if we tweaked it this way? And then in like, I don't know, 9 minutes, I have something that I love that there's just no way that I wouldn't even have known what tool to use to make something like that, you know?
You're describing and you even use it. It's like onomatopoeia. We're now in a place where we're able to be like, it would be really cool if we went, went, wow, or if we had this go, or if we had this be like, oh. And what's fascinating about that is that we understand as human beings those connotations, right? We understand boom, splat, pow. That's been a part of our, comic book history and all of that stuff and beyond. But that applies to all modalities, right? And what's very, very fascinating about this is that we now have these new tools that help us connect the dots between this very, very, very strange and language, and then connect it to the technical dots of how to actually realize this stuff through software, or through whatever. And again, this applies. You could do like the same thing for music and totally. Stuff like that as well. It's like, I want this to feel more bitey, or I want this to feel smooth, or I want this to feel whatever. It's really, really fascinating to be able to be like, I have a vision or a mental idea, a mental model of what I want this to be in my head. And you're now able to be like, let me see it.
And sometimes it's like, sometimes you're in pursuit of specificity or like the correct language, you know? Obviously music would work the same way though, right? Like oh my gosh, I mean, that's a deep rabbit hole. The language associated with music that is completely invisible to 99.9% of the population. Obviously, if you can grasp that language, you're able to achieve much more specific results. And sometimes it's like, how can I use the LLM to capitalize on the little nugget of like, I know like a Dorian scale kind of has like a minor blues feel, but I'm sure there's like 40 other words associated with that I don't understand. And like, can you just help me find them so I can give more specific directions? Yeah. And then sometimes it's like the complete opposite, where it's like, can you make this feel a little bit more like splashing in a puddle as the sun is finally coming out on a rainy day, and then just hit enter, and like, what's going to happen, you know? And like both ends of the spectrum can be really useful and interesting.
And that's right. And it's kind of like, what are you intending on doing? And I think that's really been the thing that stripped all of this stuff away and gets into the nature of design, which is just like, well, what are you intending on doing in this specific moment in time, right? Because your intentions change over time. Sometimes you want to explore, sometimes you want to just get a feel for something, sometimes you want to, go into left field and do something just radically different. And sometimes you're like, I need this to be going towards something that feels concrete and familiar or whatever. But it's an area that I'm very interested in picking at with people, because I think there's still a lot of kind of flat understanding or misunderstanding around a lot of this. And I do think that you need to go through it. You need to experience it in order to kind of cognitively understand, like, oh, totally. Yeah, I can do anything now, huh?
And I think when you're on the sidelines, I think the natural vantage point that we maybe artificially create for ourselves. It's like we just inflate the amount of knowledge required to do something with all these new foreign tools. Like I had coffee. I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Spoiler, no designers live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Like this is not a tech hub, you know? So I went to a coffee shop a couple weeks ago. I saw a guy working on the design system for a very well-known company in Figma. And I'm like, what? Are you serious?
Like, hello there.
Yeah. Like, he's got over-ear headphones on. He's so clear. He might as well have a giant do not disturb sign on his back. And I walked right over. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
like, my
Hello.
name's Rid. You know, do you want to talk like about anything related to what you're doing? You know. So anyway, we start talking, and longtime principal designer working at a well-known agency, and moved here from Denver. I also moved here from Denver. It's like, cool, let's be friends. You know. So I got coffee with him 2 days ago, and it was like the actual meet and greet, and in the role that he was in, he'd been working as a principal designer at this agency for like 5 or 6 years, and had zero incentive, push, and really motivation to do anything out of the norm. So he was working as of 2 weeks ago the exact same way that he has been working probably since 2018 when Figma came out, you know? Sure. And he wants to get a new job. And so we were kind of talking about like the job market. I have this like talent network and a really interesting window into the job market as a result. And so he's just asking me questions and I'm just giving him answers. And the fact is, a lot of the answers are people are looking for designers, and generally people who are AI curious and trying new things and thinking about workflows. And he's like, is there a course that you could send me to get started? And I'm like, no, like we're gonna do this right now. Like, get out your laptop, like we can do this in 10 minutes and you can get enough to start. And then he texted me yesterday. He has a band, a local band. They do like little house shows, and he has a website on it. And he texted me this fully interactive music player that he built for his website. It's absolutely gorgeous. It plays all of his own songs. He has all these fun little scrubbing interactions. You can change what the visualizer looks like, and it took him like a few hours. And he's like, I get it now. Yeah. Like you can't look at the world the same way after you build something like that is specific for you and your set of interests, solves a real problem that you had, and now he's hooked. Yep. And it's like, how do you get more people that experience, without being like, trust me, please, I promise, it's really easy, just try it,
That's beautiful. And I think it's especially beautiful because it is a bazookaing of his creative potential as a musician. It is facilitating his creativity, his band, his furthering his band's ability to put their self-expression out into the world. Yeah. And that's something that is very, very difficult because that also lives in I'm always very careful to talk about this because it's like part of the broader cultural conversation around this is still on AI's original sin, which is, this stuff ate all of our shit. And now and that's what's allowing us to have these kinds of superpowers now. And that's still bad and always will be bad. Yep. That it was done the way that it was done, and there's no reconciliation of that, and that's okay. And you're allowed to like be mad about it, and I fully respect that because I'm mad about it too. It's like I like sharing my stuff online, so if like an LLM ate it, then I guess that's what I get for sharing things. But like not everyone feels that way, and that needs to be honored and respected. And then you have this, and now we're going to basically like just get out the machetes and start hacking away people's jobs and redundancies and all of like that stuff. That's all real too. And that's
totally,
we're able to, but back to your pal though, becomes, I think, a very interesting moment in time because all of the artists of the world, all of the musicians, all of the nonprofits, all of these people who have been, by way of the systems that they've been operating in, by way of how society's been designed, the way of what we put our value in as a society, what we compensate, what we don't, that leaves this very, very vast chasm between the people who are gainfully employed at the organizations that, we chat to and have worked in and around and stuff like that. And these people that are like, I'm an artist and I have stuff that I would like to get out into the world. And there's a lot of value there. And so what I'm very, very excited about is for more of those people to have the experience that your new pal just had, which is to say, oh, AI generated images equals, crappy things that are then stealing people's job. That's a narrative. And again, that's real and that's true, but that's not the only narrative. And I think that's the thing that I'm so excited about, is the thing that you kind of just showed your new pal is like, here's how you can use these things to facilitate your own destiny, your own creative destiny. And that it's wherever you want to go with it. It's wherever you want to go with it, that you could use this stuff. You could point this stuff at the stuff that is like frustrating to you, annoying to you, or you could use this in a way that is just like, rather than just being like, Ticketmaster sucks. And that's been the state of affairs for the entirety of like the musical universe for, the default, right? For so long, and everybody's just under their thumb. What does it look like when you design your own version of a thing that doesn't do that doesn't operate in that way, that doesn't operate with those values? And historically, it was, well, that sounds hard. Well, what if it wasn't anymore? And every single day I wake up, here's my thing last night. I was like, what does it look like to take your playlist, whatever streaming service you're using, the Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, that are kind of notoriously kind of not great at paying out big numbers and stuff. What if for any liked song on your playlist that you listen to this week, at the end of the week, it gives you an email, links to all of those songs for you to buy them from either their website directly, or from Bandcamp or wherever, like you could actually like give them $1 for the music that you listen to. Again, it's like, well, if these platforms aren't necessarily like valuing that, what does it look like and it doesn't even need to be an either or, although you could, make some arguments about these platforms and all of that stuff. And that's part of the ongoing conversation in this realm. But it's like, at the very least, it's like a lot of this stuff is just around like visibility and around access and ease. I think a lot of people want to support artists. I think people want to throw $1 or $2 in the direction of the music and the musicians that are making it. And so, again, what would it look like? And so that was my like 2-minute rabbit hole. I'm like, what does that look like? What's like the easy version of this? What's the version that's just like, well, Last FM's been around forever, and you could just kind of like look at that stuff very easily. There's just so many ways to point this at whatever we want. And I think that this is like the thing that really, really excites me, is that historically we've had to be reliant a certain type of like company or platform or whatever in order for us to sort of be able to get things done. And this moment does a lot of things and makes things, democratizes things. It makes things way more accessible to people. That's why I feel an obligation at a human level to basically help the people who are rightly pissed off at that, again, the original sin and all of like the real downsides and risks and externalities and all that stuff. Yes, that's all there. That's all real. And here it is. And here is like what we can do with it. And I'm excited to see. That's why I'm trying to like help people hold multiple thoughts in their head at the same time, because I'm like, it's like, dude, I get it. Dude, I get it. I understand. And I'm like, in many respects, right there with you. But also like, here it is, just like you showed with your pal. It's like, here it is. Like, here it is. Just use it. Just do it. And then, you're over the line and off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, the original sin piece is never going away. You know, like you can.
Nope.
I'm probably more than I should be, honestly. Like I'm not. I'm very forward looking in everything. So it's like if something is a sunk cost, it's like great. I derive no value from thinking about it again. There's probably a healthy middle ground. I'm not necessarily in that healthy middle ground, so it's a little bit easier for me to like just say this is the world I live in, and the only thing that really matters is like tomorrow and the next day. It's like let's just how do I show up in the world that exists today? It's
Yeah.
kind of how I operate. But it's interesting. Like the flip side of everything that we're talking about is when things are democratized and you have all of these different abilities. I gave the motion design example. Well, like would I have hired a motion designer previously in the past? Maybe not for that example, but like certainly for some things this year, there will be a motion element that I would have previously hired someone for that I will do myself. And it will be very fun and very fulfilling for me. And I will have these new abilities. But it's like the cost of democratization is the loss of power and control from the people who have previously held the skills. It's like I get it. My goodness, it's interesting to even have relationships with engineers right now. I'm sure it's quite annoying. I'm sure they're way more frustrated than they would actually tell me about me encroaching on their territory. That the walls that were built over many years of practice and determinations and Stack Overflow threads, and all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, I am over here now. Hey guys, I deserve to be here. That's hard. And you can look at that at like my brother is an audio engineer. I'm more of like the hobbyist musician. It's great for me. I love playing on Suno. It's super fun. One of my best friends is the worship leader at my church. Dude just writes a song on his acoustic guitar and then like quote unquote prototypes it with Suno to see how it would sound live with a full band and like, a full sound system. I think that's incredible. Like that is so cool. Then you have my brother who's like, what is my career defensibility as somebody who has built up, just so many reps of producing and mixing and mastering and there's two sides to every single coin, it's weird.
There's a couple things that come to mind, and as you were sort of describing your adventures into animation and as well as this kind of what's this fuzzy threshold that gets crossed of, I would have hired a freelancer for this versus I'll just do it myself. I think that a word that's important to put into the mix is fluency. So your brother, the audio engineer, and our ability to, what you were saying earlier, to onomatopoeia our way in there, it's like we could, get a crude approximation thing. But if we were like shipping something real or something that is consequential and all of that stuff, right? The ability to kind of go, here's my like toddler book version of what this is, and I could visually look at it and it looks good, but it's like, is this durable? Is this all like, is this actually like sound, right? And as an audio engineer and just knowing like how detail oriented they are, you could, point that at anything, whether it's lettering or whether it's, design systems work or coding work or whatever. It's like, there is this kind of false sometimes sense of competency. And this is, I think, what's really interesting because there's an attitude that's around defensiveness versus curiosity that I think is like a big way out of this. Yeah. I think a lot of the people that are just like feeling like the walls closing in and around them, that's that sort of scarcity mindset that I think can be countered by empowerment and by sort of opening the doors to, does this need to be at the expense of your thing? Or can you take the world that you have operated in, your skills, all of your hard-earned language that you've absorbed and internalized, and all of your skills and talents, and then you go out, right? You go outward, right? So it's a constriction versus expansion. And what I think is the threshold for getting around that is what you just described about, again, your new pal is just like, had he been sitting there working in the same way he'd always been working, and then just kind of seeing everything kind of move in around him and to kind of protect it and to defend it, it's like it gets kind of smaller and smaller and you get more and more worried. And what you said before about here's today and here's tomorrow and kind of dwelling on the past is, I think, like an interesting dynamic here. And I think that it's like that's a really important attitude to cultivate, because I think that a lot of people that are feeling that constriction are not yet far enough down the road where they're looking ahead. They're instead, it's like, yes, like
you're
how
protecting
do I sort of
old
preserve?
ground.
Right.
Not
And
a battle you want to play right
which
now.
is, but and so that is the thing, right? Like at a societal level, I've fought so hard for stability in my own life that it's like this is a very destabilizing moment in time, and so could fully appreciate everyone's, you know, fear, anxiety, and that feeling of constriction and that just very destabilizing thing. But I think that just how you opened our conversation with going through a process by which you're then able to sort of emerge out the other end and wake up excited to sort of go outward rather than feeling that the walls closing in around you is something that I think that we need to let's solve this. What needs to happen for anyone who's in this position that feels that constriction? Like, how do you get to the other side of it?
I think where my mind went was, oddly enough, this it's a John Mayer interview when he was on Hot Ones, and I'll butcher the quote, but he talked about how some songs he makes for himself and some songs he makes because it's like good commercial practice and he's making it for the masses. And there's basically zero overlap between the two. Like the stuff he makes for himself, there's a level of like complexity and nuance and, you know, maybe dissonance even that scratches his itch as somebody who has an incredibly refined ear. Or maybe in a designer's stance, it would be an incredibly refined eye. But what makes that song meaningful to him, it doesn't even exist to the average person. In fact, it might just kind of sound like noise a little bit more than is needed. If you think about maybe someone like my brother or anybody who feels like AI is encroaching on the set of skills that they've built up over a decade and their little professional bubble, and you're kind of just like, wait, like, can I defend this territory, or do I need to like get the heck out of Dodge and try to figure out what to combine it with and do something totally different? My concern, I guess, is that we are just going to get more of everything. And when you have excess supply, where the demand concentrates does not necessarily correlate with the level of talent and ability required to make it. Because given excess supply, we won't pick John Mayer's best tracks. We'll pick the stuff that honestly, you and I could probably make over the next 15 minutes with Suno. And then different factors impact what discoverability looks like and where demand gravitates to. And you probably look like, you know, whoever's the best at TikTok is actually who we're listening to. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable. You know, it just does. Like that's the full flip side of everything. Like you can run any profession on a computer almost through that little thought exercise. And it gets weird, man. It gets weird. I don't know how to think about any of it.
Yeah, I agree with all of it. And I think that the thing that I'll put on the table is that the whatever's on TikTok and treating that as a constant also isn't on the table. So what does it look like to design health ways of connecting people with good human-made stuff that doesn't need to go through these handful of platforms that have been the gatekeepers for as long as
that's the thing. I hope the pendulum swings. Like we're obviously still, it's going to get quote unquote worse, depending on your definition. It's going to get worse before it gets better. You know, like we are still swinging towards the AI everything, but like, gosh, I really am hopeful that the pendulum will come back and all of a sudden it will lead to this, in many ways, maybe like revitalization of local culture. Yeah, you know, like local music is like so, like, will we have a resurgence of local music? Hopefully, as there's more, you know, GDP per capita and a less time requirement. Maybe the way that we think about a 40-hour work week looks antiquated 10 years from now. Are we just making art and having community experiences with the people around us? That would be cool, you know? I'd like to think
Right.
I'd like to think that that is where this might be headed. We'll see.
That requires work. That requires intentional design, right? And
Agreed.
and I think that you're right. It's like whenever a lot of like the labor around the production of the things that people actually like need, just, that's good to continue to get more efficient when you look at, Maslow's hierarchy there, as we're able to sort of, here's food production, here's like basic things, but even digital things like websites and finding out where the concert's going to be. That's always been the historic pain in the ass, is like somebody's got to manage that, or here's this like app, or here's this like thing that was trying to round everything up, but then they get bored or they like lose focus, and then like all of a sudden that went away, or that newsletter went away, and so now everybody's just kind of floating. And I think that we had a collective experience with this with COVID, where so much of the existing infrastructure around community just got annihilated.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Half the restaurants shut down. Half of the meetups, all of that stuff just get decimated. Right. And in many respects, the timing of COVID and then kind of coming out the other end of it, and then here comes this shit just kind of like disrupting us like yet again, can feel that way. Again, that sort of destabilization of things, and we've already been beaten down, and then this just feels, it's like, man, I can't catch a break. But unlike something like COVID, which is just like actually, bad, it is like this equals death. Straight up. AI, on the other hand, right, as a material or as a technology, is something that it can cause harm, but it also can help us get closer together and rebuild those communities and rebuild connection, and help us have experiences with one another, and help us be able to connect with the people around us, connect with our communities, help our communities. And those opportunities, I think, require a bit of an imagination, right? Like that's why, like that's why I keep like kind of picking at these ideas more and more, because it's like we're so used to just things being this just mundane, fucking abysmal experience most of the time. You look out into the world and you're just like, this ain't good, right? So what does it look like to just like actually make that better? I learned from the best of them. My mom's an art teacher, and she got really creative with child labor over the years. And so she would like point a bunch of kids at like kind of community murals in her hometown and like other things like that.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
There's, and to this day, there's, just nice splashes of color and like actual things that have this very like kind of human feel to it, right? So it's like, so this is the kind of stuff, right? Like you were saying earlier, it's like, I'm like not like a designer in the like, or I'm not like an artist. It's like, but what I'm describing here is like, this is an active design. It's an intentional application of art in order to like make a community better, so that as you're sitting at a red light, it doesn't feel just like a bleak hellscape. It instead feels like a place where you're like, oh, this is nice. Like I'm able to have like welcome to Hampton painted by some kids with some like, people walking their dogs in a park, or like, whatever little things that people want to paint. This is what we can do. That stuff is fucking work. That is coordination. That is collaboration. That requires community township meetings. That requires approvals. That requires some fees, probably, right? Materials need to be paid for. You need to get the permission by whoever owns that retaining wall. There it is, right? That's the sort of shit that sucks. It's terrible, but it's the requisite work, the human work, the bureaucratic work that needs to happen in order to do something like painting a retaining wall a nice color without me just going out and tagging it with graffiti in the middle of the night, which I've been tempted to do.
I was about to say,
so,
you've almost done it.
I could have done that, but it's like, but the beauty of something like this would be making it a community effort, making it so that the artifact reflects the community effort, and that is a part of the work.
Yep.
So what does it look like when we're empowered? We're all empowered to basically go, we should do something about this.
Yeah, I can make that better.
It doesn't feel like an impossible feat, right?
There's like a whole, I mean, obviously my brain goes a little bit more to software as an output, but there's a whole, I mean, how many community specific problems were ever economically viable to solve with software? Like none, dude. None. Because the city's not going to do it. They don't have the abilities. Yeah. And then anything else that is like cross city, now you have one of the hardest go-to-market problems in the world. And then everything that you were doing software related had to have the TAM to make it a good financial decision to pay a large upfront cost to do. And therefore you got nothing. Nothing. Yep. All of that's gone now. It can be a, obviously we're doing this outside of financial motivations, but I think it's less about the motivations and more about the financials are the barrier to you actually doing anything so often.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like all of a sudden, it's like you could solve one person's problem with software and it could be economically viable. Well, that's very interesting, right? I did that with my dad. He wasn't asking for an app or anything. He just is like, he's an insurance adjuster and he has no tooling because he works for himself. And he was just like driving around with like chicken scratch on papers, like keeping notes about people and like trying to figure out his routes and everything. It was very, you could see it was stressful. I heard him talk about it enough where I'm like, we should talk about this, right? And so he just kind of dumped on me for an hour. I took a bunch of notes and then just went and built him a tool. And it's like meaningfully changed his life. That would have made no sense even if I had the skills, because it would have taken me 6 months or something, and now it's like, oh, you can actually build something pretty good in like a week or two. And I think especially designers, anybody, but we're in this moment of time right now where I do think we're in the vast minority of the world understands that 1, problems can be found, 2, problems can be solved with software, and 3, I have the ability to do it now, like right now, if I wanted to, And so it's like we can, and people still like there's still people don't understand how easy software is right now. Like if you would hand something like, here, I made you this. My friend has the concept of like software as a gift. This guy Kyle. Like, I made you this thing with software. What? Are you serious? That doesn't, like, what?
Yeah.
What a fun little moment. Yeah. Like, eventually we'll kind of collectively as a society probably understand how cheap and easy it has become. But like, we're in this transitionary period where there's still a lot of meaning associated with it, but the cost is low. And so you can just be a genuinely kind and loving and mind-blowing person by just making software for people. That's kind of fun, right?
It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the role of designers and people who are fluent in these languages have a real opportunity here to sort of like take that outward and to sort of like demonstrate that like with you and your dad. But also, again, like this is sort of something that I've been doing a bit more of and trying to sort of like rally around is this idea of here's all these like nonprofit organizations who are operating on shoestring budgets and have been for so long, or city governments or whatever that are just, everybody's just kind of like in this place of just like, I'm dying, or we're figuring out how to be very, very resourceful with like the little scraps of money and time that like we have. And I think that our communities of professional designers and developers, especially those that are maybe working in-house at places, I think like, unfortunately, I've seen this kind of dip in the last maybe 10 years. I feel like there used to be a little bit more of the, like we're going to do these like side. I feel like there used to be like, I don't know, this is just my vantage point, so I could be totally wrong about this, but there used to be like, I'm going to like go over here and like help my buddy with his like business or whatever, or I'm going to, volunteer some stuff over on, build this website over here. And then I think that kind of got replaced with like side hustles, which is a different, a different thing. And so my thing though is that I think that people's innate desire to want to be able to help and want to be able to sort of like, work towards the greater good has always been there. I think that there's a lot of like self-preservation. It's like, I don't have the time. And again, I think that this is the thing that you just really wonderfully said, where it's just like, well, like it is so easy now. So what does it look like? Because its nonprofits aren't going to be like rolling up, jamming on Claude code by themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah, agreed.
Like there's a real opportunity to sort of facilitate this process. And I think that is like when we get into the existential territory of what a designer is, and you're like, designing intentional solutions to problems, that mindset, that process of taking a problem and designing solutions to it still exists. That's going to be around for as long as human beings are around. It just might not look like rectangles drawn on a canvas as much. It gets more into the human connection, and this is I think like a good thing. Too many people for the last couple of generations of designers have been headphones on in rectangle land when we need to be talking to the people who use our stuff or talking to the people who have the problem. And like, we're actually now able to co-design and to facilitate and to like do all of this stuff and orchestrate these people who are all like, yeah, I don't know about this, but I do know about my deep world of what I do. And you get all those people together, each with their own deep stores of knowledge in their respective fields, and you get them all together and you say, okay, we're going to design some solutions to these problems, and you all have some smart stuff. We might have some competing opinions, but that's the other cool thing, back to the translation. Well, now historically Gary and Bob don't like each other, and they're talking past each other, but they're actually saying two different things. Or they're actually saying the same thing, they're just saying it in two different ways, but they're talking past one another. Well, what if they were no longer talking past one another? What if there is a way to translate that language out of Gary's world and into Bob's and vice versa? And then all of a sudden you have shared understanding. Okay, maybe we could do something with that.
Yeah, you have to just, I don't know, people talk a lot about like moving upstream. It's overused, but it's very true, right? Like the only reason that you would be right in having doubt about the longevity of what you're doing for money is if you are just kind of downstream implementing everything, right? So it's like there's maybe even a way that like you're two, I forget their hypothetical names, but like talking past each other, like even connecting that to the local business opportunity, which I am excited for more software to like more high quality software to flow into that segment of the market. It's one thing to be good at solving problems, which designers are, but I think actually like the really high leveraged skill all of a sudden is to be the problem finder. Like, can you find the thing that could be better? Because especially in the local businesses, they're not going to come to you with like the set of, here are my 7 things that I know could be more efficient. I just don't have the ability to do it. No, they just wake up every day and do their thing in the same way that the two people just talk over each other. And so like, can you find the thing that if it was just like tweaked or optimized, or if a bridge was built between these two people or workflows, it's like, that is the skill set, man. When execution is cheap, what do you point it at? And like the problem finders, those are the people that I think the future's pretty bright if you can bring that to the table at a high level.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. And that's just it. It's like so many people don't know that they have the problems, or like your dad is able to articulate it. It comes out in the form of frustration, or just kind of like a lot of people just throwing up their hands, just, what are you going to do? Or whatever. So again, even if people don't have that attitude, which you're 100% right, they feel it. They feel that experience. They feel, you see them, they're tired. They're exhausted, they're frustrated, they're slammed. And you don't need to look very hard to find that. And so that's where it's like the role of curiosity in just being like, how's it going? And like, just tell me what's hard. And then like, yeah, I don't know, come through the bakery door the following day with your software as a gift.
Yeah.
Right. Or something like that, you know?
I've been thinking a lot. I think I'm being skewed by this. I was just on a sales demo with a pretty interesting product, but like I've been thinking a lot about like what is the blurry middle ground between a purely self-serve software experience that you've made and the more like service-based consulting setup piece of said software, because there's something kind of interesting there. AI is making both of them much more efficient. But you think about like a local business, they don't like, they want a tool, but they really just want the problem solved. And they're not going to be the most technically capable. Probably you think about your local business down the street, like they don't want to learn new software. They don't want to set up a system. The system, the
domain registration,
right? Little things that to us are so table stakes, like just being able to get a basic website up. That's a lot of friction. I have a friend that's been dabbling in making like SMS based tools for local contractors. And what he kind of realized was, okay, one, they're very interested in this, but then two, they don't even have a website that works for them. You know, it's like if you blend the two, it's like I'll make you the website. I'll do the upfront cost because we're good at it. You know, this is like what we kind of do. We'll understand the business. We'll set it up and just kind of hand you something that's fully ready to go out of the box. It's not a tool. It is like it's the system. The whole thing is set up and you can almost like people will pay for that. They'll pay for that level of work, which you've made much more efficient with AI. And then they will also pay for the tool that is now continuing to run. And like, what is this like hybrid, how can we as designers, you're kind of freelancing, but you're also kind of building up leverage through like software tools that are generating recurring revenue, presumably. I don't know. I think there's like a really fun middle ground that when things are cheaper, when the barriers are lower, we're not building like a SaaS business, but you're not just freelancing, but you're building up a portfolio of things that you built that create ongoing value for people. I think there's like a really interesting area to play in there as somebody who has the goal of working for themselves by practicing the skill of design.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. And at the heart of everything you're saying is here are relationships between human beings, and there's like services that are provided, but there's also the software that's like living and breathing, and it's this sort of stew. It's this orchestration of all of these different human systems and software systems and beyond, kind of make it all work. And it feels good because you're able to kind of come together and again, be able to have a conversation, have shared understanding. And historically, it was like, oh, that was like a nice meeting. But if you're like showing up to this thing where it's like, here's this fully functioning system, and the contractor says, well, I do it this way. I snap a photo of this. Actually, I have a buddy who was saying exactly this because he works for a software company that services like contractors who are like building houses, and one dude has a specific workflow where he's like, I take the pictures, I'm going around getting ready for the inspection, and then like what I want is to just be able to sort of like upload those photos, and then I'll like sort of say things afterwards. But then the next guy is like, well, I like to sort of first like write a bunch of things, and then like I'm kind of like using other stuff as an afterthought. And so it's very interesting because you get into this, well, okay, if you have like a good kind of vanilla system where all the things are possible, the APIs sound, so on and so forth, all the back-end stuff needs to just be kind of table stakes. The actual experience layer could be like hyper-personalized to whatever individual preferences are. I want this app to be this thing that helps me take these photos. It's basically like a glorified camera app that does this, and then I'm able to speak my words into it, and then it like turns it into structured data. Okay, cool. Then the next person's like, I want to be able to write these things and get them in that way. And then I want to be able to just like upload some photos like later, or I have somebody else that does that. Okay, great. So everybody gets a thing that is in the shape and form that is their preferences and needs. And it all comes together and it all works and it's all functional. And you don't have to be like, this damn thing, it never works for me. Or, you know, why
or like
is
I
this
use
like this?
20% of the functionality. It's still worth me paying for it, but like I literally ignore 80% of the interface. You know, how many tools
that's
do we
right.
have where
Yeah,
that's the case? It's like, that's so frequent. Like what a fun systems level design challenge, right? Like that gets interesting. That gets so interesting on the, not only like the interface component level, but also the mental model level of like how much is shared, how much control do you give other people, because they want some control, but they don't want all the control. It's not like fully dynamic or it's so interesting to think about that type of product, which I feel like we barely scratched the surface of, but it just feels so obvious to me that has to exist, you know?
Well, and whenever people are like, well, if AI is taking away my livelihood, and I'm used to sort of like drawing things around like this, and like, well, what do I do now? That what we just described, there it is, there, when we have like a flat or one-dimensional view of like what a job is, we miss out on the massive opportunities and just the infinite potential for all of this stuff. So it's like, that's why I keep kind of this idea of like kind of constriction and expansion, of like kind of getting through that hard process to ultimately get to a place where more people are waking up excited going, shit, I could do anything, is really, I think, important to do. And like, I guess I'll ask you this question, because like, you have your own version of this. You're like writing more code than ever before. That's not your background. Do you feel though that your background is still relevant to what you're doing in this day and age?
I mean, yes, but maybe not for the answer that you were hoping that I would address, because
No, I'm not
I
hoping
don't even
anything.
really
I'm
consider my
genuinely
background
curious.
as a designer, honestly. Like I designed interfaces every day on the internet for like 7 years before I ever even considered the fact that my title was a designer. I was always just like a founder. I wanted to start things and make things. And when I first tried to learn how to code when I was like 18, I sucked. Tried to make like a solar system on Codecademy and it kicked my ass. And I was like, well, I can't do that. And then I was like, well, I'm the only non-technical person. What else do I do? Well, I guess there's design. And then I cracked Adobe Illustrator, and that's like started the whole thing, you know? And so I was doing design, but I was doing every non-technical task. I was doing all the support and all the sales. I was growing the business, you know? That was my early 20s. And
Designing a business, maybe.
I think that is, yes, very much so, very much so. And even like my family, I never realized like the impact that my socialization experience had on me until I was maybe 30. But you kind of look back and you're like, oh, actually a lot of people in my family just started things, you know, very, very self-starter. That was what I was, you know, I grew up looking at relatives who all had their own businesses. And I guess it was just like always what I was going to do. So that's actually what my background is. And I think that's the greatest background in the world right now. You know, everything we were talking about, I think, and AI in general rewards people who are self-starters, who are going to put their head down and just run through the wall. You know, I think that is kind of naturally, I had a little bit of that in me, and AI just amplifies that. And so I view design more as a skill rather than an identity. And I like trying new things. I get bored, man. I have to be working on things that are really life-giving for me. If I'm not, then they feel like work. And as soon as something feels like work, I like kind of put it away. That's not a great thing. Sometimes it's not a great thing at all. But like that's why I have to be intentional about the things that I work on. Like I have to do something that I know will retain its game-like feel long enough for me to win, purely based off of consistency and just showing up. If I can find that thing, good luck. No one can beat me, you know, because I'm having more fun than you. And I'll do it every single day in all my free time because I'm having a really fun time. So if I can align those things, like I don't really care where it takes me, you know? Like I know that I'm going to be working on fundamentally different things 10 years from now than I am today. And I don't care because you'll just figure it out every step of the way. And if you just follow what's interesting, then good luck keeping up, you know? So it's a little bit of a different type of answer than maybe you were expecting,
No,
but that's
no,
kind of
no,
how
no,
I
no.
operate.
I think that you got into the heart of it. And if I could like play it back to you, you just described how you operate and a level of self-awareness and understanding that is baked into your genes. It sounds like at a very deep level of here are my tendencies. Here is why I seek these certain kinds of experiences out. Here is why I do these things. Here is, you know, here are the conditions that I like to find myself. And when I find myself in these conditions, I know I'm going to have a good time. When I find myself in these different conditions, I am self-aware enough to know this isn't where I want to be, and I need to, in order to get back to a place that's more in line with my internal operating system.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is such an important moment in time for everybody to understand why they enjoy doing the things that they enjoy doing. Because, as you said, the what we're going to be doing, what we're doing, is changing all the time. You know, the era, like we came up in an era where the semblance of, you know, working at a place for 35 years and retiring and getting a gold watch was already not true, but it at
Yeah.
least was like in our, you know, we were around the older generations who that was true for. And I think that like in this day and age, it's just like, you know, forget about it. You know,
Yeah.
so this ability to kind of like know yourself and get into a place where I go, yes, I'm wired in this way. Here are the things I enjoy. Why do I enjoy the things that I enjoy? That's like, I think a good exercise is just like, what activities do I do? Like, what are my hobbies? What are my, you know, what do I do for fun? What do I do for work? You know, why, right? Why do I do that? And guess what? AI
Yeah.
can help with that too.
Yeah. I agree.
Take a look at my calendar and figure out, like, help me draw some themes.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm so hopeful that more people work for themselves in the next like 5 years. Like I think the stars are aligning in so many ways where it's like we talked about, like the commercial line has dropped so far that all of a sudden there's this whole other class of opportunity that wasn't previously realistic. Where it's like you can find stuff that overlaps with your interest. AI is good at doing that. It's less, you need way less upside to make it worthwhile for you. You know, like you don't, it was like the idea of like, I don't know, I guess, I know it's not this simple, but like in tech, I've often felt like you kind of get drawn toward two poles. You're either a freelancer working for yourself or you're a founder, you know, and you're like, really go for it. I'm taking this massive swing and putting all of my eggs into this basket, you know, and it's like that middle ground's really rich now. It's like, no, I just work for myself. Like sometimes sometimes every single time somebody asks me what I do, I panic. I have no idea what to say because I don't have a good answer. I would imagine in times maybe you felt like you don't have an amazing answer too, but it's kind of the cool thing, you know? It's like you almost have this like interconnected portfolio of bets and interests that together make your career and the ability to put food on the table. And I think all of a sudden, I think a lot of people could have that setup where it's like, well, I do this thing over here and I kind of do this thing over here. And I have this one client that I help, or I help with this thing over here. And I don't know, like that's just what I do, you know? How cool would it be if a bunch of people that had the skill set of finding and executing against problems were able to have that type of answer versus I work for X, period. You know, I'd love that world. I hope that world is like quickly coming to us and that there's this moment of time where the early adopters who make the jump have the ability to play on, you know, an easier mode just because there's all of this untapped opportunity given the cost line has diminished.
Yeah. No, I think that that you're onto something there. And if I look at kind of how I've been operating, I've been running my business since 2013. It's always been very tricky because, yeah, whatever, people don't know what to make of me. Because, yeah, I've spoken at conferences and they're like, Brad, what do we put for your like company logo? And I was like, what's your title?
I had that when I interviewed you like a year ago. I'm like, what's this dude's
Surprise
title?
me.
I'm like, I have no idea what to put as this dude's
Surprise
title.
me.
I love that. I love that.
But I think that you're picking at something that's very important because and it gets to the heart of, I think, like how human beings like operate and behave. It's like we kind of crave a clean answer to a question. And I think that there's unfortunately this moment has kind of shattered any like semblance that there is a clean answer to problems. Like, who are you and what do you do? Like, or what's this for? Or how do you make money? Pick this road or this road. Guess what? Those things were never true. And I think that you're right to say that, yeah, there's like kind of a subset of people who are entrepreneurial in nature that you'll find are the people that are able to kind of navigate that fuzziness. But I think that that's being inflicted on everybody right now. And I think that that's a lot of the source of a lot of people's anxiety is for if you aren't wired in that way, it can feel, again, that kind of constricting of shit, like this thing that I know to be true might not be true anymore. And that's very, very scary. Tell me if you disagree with it or not, but I don't think perhaps this runs counter to founder culture, startup life, or anything like that there are that you got it or you don't. I think anything can be learned, and that there's certain natural tendencies that we have, but we're able to grow and expand our perspectives and grow new skills and all of that, including things like getting comfortable, braving the unknown, and operating in like a weird, fuzzy place where there aren't clean answers to complex problems. How do you teach that?
It's weird. Like a lot of it is knowledge transfer, but I think also it's just forcibly pulling someone along for the very first step. And then once you take the first step, you realize, oh, I'm in the room now. I made this room really, really scary and opaque in my head, but it's actually not that bad. And I can just look at the next step. It's right there. Like now I see the next step. I can just take it, like, oh, cool. Now there's another one. Okay, I'll take that one next, Just like, I really think just the first step is the really, really, really difficult one.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I think it's also quite difficult sometimes to convince someone to take it with just words. You kind of got to push them a little bit, which is why the problem, I struggle to imagine how it is solved effectively at scale, I guess. But like, I'll give you an example. It's actually the guy that was, he's building the tooling for the local contractors. I've given pieces of the story. I'll tell it real quickly, which is like, I made this thing for my dad. I didn't really have time to support it and was realizing like, oh, actually, maybe there's something here. And then I met this guy who came to my house from, he lives in Africa. 1 in a billion chance that this dude walked into my door because of his schooling journey and everything. And he had just graduated with a computer science degree from the local college. So I naturally started talking to him and I think he had the blinders on from, an education, a 4-year education. Like, he had no idea how the world actually worked, So I took him under my wing a little bit and was like, listen, man, you got to do things a little bit differently in certain ways. And he showed a curiosity. So I kind of just invested him. And then he told me one day, he's like, I need to get a job to stay in the US based off of whatever his situation is. I'm not going to pretend like I know the acronyms. And I like the guy. And I was like, okay, well, what if I just hired you? All he had to do was have a tech company hire him. So I was like, I'll just hire you. I'll pay you whatever your bare minimum break even, what do you need kind of thing to just do life. And then you can explore and build things outside of the pressure. And so he started helping with my dad's thing. And then we were like, well, what if this is like another business? And now he's been working on, now he's building contracting tools for a couple other local businesses. And he didn't even realize the transformation that happened. But there was this moment, like one time where he's like, what do I do? And instead of telling him, I just said, come over to my house. We stood right here on my desk. I did it standing mode. And I just said, okay, this is Claude. This is how we're going to approach the question of what do we do and get it to do research for us and help us guide. And, and I just unlocked him one time. And now this dude is like going out and like cold calling local businesses, building websites for local companies. He just pitched at the local like startup event kind of thing. He's actively in due diligence with like a local fund who's going to give him a grant to like double down on things, and he's taken the next 15 steps way faster and more aggressively than I could have predicted. But all it took was just like, I just had to just shove him forward with the first step. And then he just, and now he's hooked and he's good at building, and he's like doing sales, learning how to write cold emails, learning what a safe is. And it's like, how many more people can you give that experience to? You know, he just takes the first, like, just come in the room, just see that the room's not scary. And there's actually a staircase in front of you, you know?
And you're there to guide and support, and that's the thing, right? It is scary. There's a reason why people can't do solo jumps out of an airplane by themselves.
Totally.
First time they do it, it's like you need your buddy. You need the buddy system, and the conditions by which people feel psychologically safe to go, I'm doing this for the first time. What do I do? Or I'm getting stuck here. And like, is anybody like, are you going to laugh me out of the room? One of the things that we experience so often is, and just have to remind people of, and I hate to say it, but like, especially women, is just like beginning sentences with an apology. Like, please, 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 please. You're exactly where you need to be right now. Like there's no apology needed. We're making first contact with a brand new way of doing things, which, by the way, we don't know what the fuck we're doing either, right? Like we're only just a few more reps in than
one wrong on
else.
the ladder.
So how do we collectively, right, as an industry, as a community, as an everything, create the conditions by which more people can have that experience? It's a beautiful, beautiful story and beautiful experience. And I think that is the opportunity, and it gets out of that scarcity mindset of, but wait a minute, if you teach them how to do this, then what if that cuts in on your thing? And then you realize that, oh yeah, that's just yet another story that is has been perpetuated for far too long. So it's like, this is the time, not speaking hypothetically, that it's like a lot of that stuff can be dismantled, and you can arrive at a place where people, the picture you're painting is beautiful, which is helping each other out, taking on this job, doing this, it breathes. We're all just a bunch of Venn diagrams walking around, and sometimes we're closer together and we're overlapping. Hey, you need some help? And like, okay. And then, maybe like we could collaborate on a project right now, and we could do it without feeling like, hey, we got to sign a contract and become co-founders. And what's your role going to be? And we're going to fire up a new LLC. Nope. We could actually just do some work together, hang around one another, do a thing. We're more overlapped, but then that project ends, and then we move on to life. And you could create that space and that overlap with like as many people as you encounter in your life. And it's 100% possible. And everybody finds a way to make 2 and 2, or to add up to 4, whether it's 2 plus 2 equals 4, whether it's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4, whether it's pi plus whatever. This is 100% possible, and this is 100% necessary right now. And again, it's like when you look out, whether it's in Kalamazoo or Pittsburgh or anywhere else, and you just, again, look at the just kind of bleak, depressing hellscape that sometimes it can look at, like when you, like, I always just beeline it to who looks like they're having fun at their job. I dial way in on that, because that to me is like a signal you get, and all you need to do is like travel elsewhere where you're like, oh, these people don't seem to hate their lives. And you're like, well, shit, like everyone deserves to be like, if you're the barista at that coffee shop that you're meeting your new pal, it's like, are they cool, or are they happy to be there, or are they like hating life? Hopefully baristas seem to, in general, be a little bit more happy or whatever, but most places, gas station attendants, grocery stores, just a lot of people are just like, you could just tell it's like they're beaten down, they're living in conditions by that aren't conducive to flourishing, to thriving. It's a struggle. It doesn't need to be a struggle. So what do we collectively do to make it not be a struggle? This is why these conversations, I think, are so important, because it's taking all the other bullshit away and a lot of those other narratives that are at least partially true, but they're not telling the whole story. And I think that, like, we need to help people understand where this can go. And that's not, and we're, I think it's important to say that just because we're saying this doesn't mean that it's going to happen, or that it's a given, or that it's like, no, that's the work. That's just the work that's required. And that's good and important work that we kind of collectively need to do. Control.
There's less of a tie to the old like world system and hierarchies in a way that's pretty interesting too. Like, it's no surprise that the people who complain about AI are the ones who have achieved a I don't want to use the word defensible again, but like, they're well positioned in today's world, and maybe they are more experienced. Of course they would be upset because it's like their work and their position that's in jeopardy. But like, going back to this guy that I'm was talking about, that I was kind of mentoring, like, I don't want people to interpret everything that we're talking around through the like, well, we need more people mentoring others. We do. Like, that's fantastic. But that even is like bred from this hierarchical chain that is tied to like experience and reps. The fact is, like, what AI has done is flattened so much, right? Like, everything's just as new for me as it is for this guy. And maybe I was able to jumpstart him, but now, dude, he's flying, man. Like, he's made some way crazier stuff with AI than I have. And I have now as much to learn about certain things from him as he does from me. And 2 years ago, there would have been almost no slice of software where that could have possibly been true in under 6 months, right? There's no way that he could have learned anything in 6 months that I could have also learned from. It's just no way. I have 15 years on him, But now he'll come up and be like, oh, dude, I figured this thing out. Look at this. And I'm like, holy shit, are you serious? How did you do that? Be damned with the experience. Like, everything's just so new. There's so much opportunity for curiosity, and everything's advancing more quickly than any one individual can learn. And so I feel confident that window of opportunity where it rewards the curious will not only stay open, but actually grow for at least a little bit. Like, we're very clearly still on the ascent, and nobody really knows where this is going.
Yeah.
It's like, you could be fresh out of school and be actually pushing the frontier of things, which has never happened. That's never happened before. Maybe since like the dawn of literacy at scale. Like, that's never happened before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I get hyped about I'm an optimist, if you can't tell. It's like I want people to leave inspired and to like understand that there is real opportunity regardless of your circumstance or current standing in whatever your world looks like.
I think that's so important to just underscore, triple underscore. And this is something that I have no doubt in my mind, you hear the same as I do. People go, well, who am I? Or, this has already been said, or you already talked about this, so I can't talk about this, or whatever. And it's so incredibly important for people to understand that your pal that you helped get going, it's like, the fact that he is from Africa, gone through this program, lived life a certain way, has these certain things, has these experiences. No other person on the planet has had that exact experience. Just as anybody living in this moment, listening to this conversation, has had the exact experience that you have. And when you, as you just rightly said, everything is flattened and all of this is within reach and you're empowered, all of a sudden, your whole life, your interests, your hobbies, your experience, where you've been, where you've traveled, what you've seen, all of that becomes in play. Like, you are valuable because you're a human being who has lived on this earth, and you've walked a path in life that's gotten you to where you're at now. And now you're here. And sure, yeah, people like us might have like a few more notches on the belt, or whatever phrase you want to use for it, is for, in terms of like actual experience. But I think that you're 100% right. That it's just like, here is opportunity. You take what you're about. You take what you value. You take good stuff. You take what you see in the world, and you can make things better with it.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
It's
not hard to get me going.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And again, but just maybe like last quick thing, because it's like it tends to get misconstrued. Could you speak to that like a little bit, just like around like has there ever been like times where they're just like, oh, Rid, you're just like, you're being naive here.
Yeah,
like, or you're discounting things. Yeah.
Yeah, the disclaimer is I've literally been to counseling about this. I so get drawn to optimistic outcomes, and I find it, I don't know, there's two ways to look at it. Like, one, is there an element of it where it's like a source of denial and actually it's like a coping internally? Yeah, my counselor would say yes, that there is an element of that. I also think that there is incredible alpha in being optimistic. And optimism is typically what lends itself to early adoption, too. I like to be an early adopter. You wouldn't try things and be one of the first to experiment and tinker and explore a given anything if you didn't lend yourself to being slightly optimistic that it'll be worthwhile, and you're not going to just waste your time, get hurt, lose money, anything, like you have to expect optimistic outcomes to be at the front. I think anybody that can assemble basic logic building blocks can arrive at the conclusion that there's real value in being at the front right now. Like, I don't know how long the window is going to be open. Like, not 10 years. I don't know. Like, there's a window though. Like anytime there's a transitionary period, there's windows because things get reshuffled. My friend Saleo would call it like a jump ball. Like, we're living in this great jump ball where like everything's kind of up for grabs again, because everybody, regardless of where they were at, had to kind of cross the chasm. So if you are optimistic, you'll sprint across the chasm because it's like you expect it to be better on the other side. And if you're on the other side more quickly, then there are untapped opportunities that are derived from very real first movers advantage at almost any level of society, Therefore, why not be an optimist? Like, why would I not be an optimist right now? That's how I think about it.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I love, there's a lot of really good visual imagery you just shared there. So.
I audibly process it. So I'm like, I'm not kidding. I've never thought about that visual image before, but you asked the question and then I kind of started talking. Yeah. I'm like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also I think like the counselor's words are wise to a degree, but also a lot of it, and my friend Rebecca said it really well. It's just like, it's not necessarily like, it doesn't have to be necessarily like a form of denial. Like, there can be a recognition with it, but it's just like a willingness to just kind of dwell or stew in the problem statement versus okay, I understand it. Where do we go? Like yep. how do we make it better? Yep. And that's and I think it takes all kinds, obviously, because I think that people who aren't wired that way are very good at kind of helping define and sort of the problems to be solved. And that's where I think that it's like a healthy balance and blend of a lot of people working together. And there's kind of like a beautiful kind of tension that comes with the optimist trying to pull a bunch of people across the line, but then they sort of serve as some important breaks and stuff. And so it's rather than like a competition where people are like winning and losing, and if you get here faster, then you get all the gold. It's like what does it look like to kind of like come together as a diverse group of people, kind of hitting things from different angles and getting to a healthier place together responsibly. So
I think that's a good point. You don't want to. Are there gold rush elements to it? Yeah, of course. We live in a capitalistic society. Like, we would be naive to say that there's not elements of that. But I do think about it more like another analogy, or is that a metaphor? I'm not sure. But like a visual is like, the train's kind of leaving the station, where it's like, I just want to get more people on the train, like come on, guys, like we're going, we're going. Do you want to come? It's going to be fun. I don't exactly know where we're going, but I'm sure it's going to be great, right? Trust me. There's an element of that too.
I love it. Well, train or no train or whatever. I think that just like starting to like paint a picture of it's like, hey, this is like good health. Like this is a place to be, and that it makes a lot of sense to work towards that more expansive attitude towards things rather than the walls are closing in on me kind of thing. And I think that there's a lot to be said about just, I think you're doing a good service and kind of helping paint a picture for people of like, here is this landscape that is fertile, that is unexplored. Yeah, that's a little scary, but at the same time, that is why, we continue to move forward despite the fog of what's ahead of us is like, well, we kind of have to chart out these paths, and it's scary in many respects, but also really exciting. And it's ultimately what we make of it. So I think that there, again, like just as we've talked about here, there's a lot of opportunities to make your ways of being and operating, and all of that's within reach, especially now that we could just kind of supercharge people's potential with these new technologies. So pretty cool. Well, thank you so much for this. This is great. We're recording this on a Friday. It's a fantastic way of going into the weekend.
It's good Friday energy. You injected it right in the beginning of the conversation. You set the tone. Friday energy. This is a Friday conversation.
Friday conversation. A pretty deep Friday conversation.
Maybe.
And only other sort of structured part of the show is what music do you want more people to know about?
I knew this question was coming, and it's stressing me out because I love discovering music. So I'm like, so much. Can I give two? You
most certainly can.
Okay, I gotta give two because there's like just very different types. So I listen to a lot of instrumental music, basically at all times. I've had instrumental music going on softly in my headphones this entire conversation, and I have it on for every conversation that I ever do because I think I get a little bit weird without it. Yeah, if people think it's odd, but like I get odd when I don't have music going while I'm talking. I get
that's wild.
Fidgety. That requires, I can't have any lyrics, obviously. So I have different energy levels to the different types of music. And in the middle ground, that has just been a staple. Like I've been a top 0.1% fan on Spotify for like over 10 years now, is Emancipator. You ever listen to Emancipator?
No, I don't know.
Okay, perfect. I was hoping you hadn't. Now I'm glad that I gave two. Emancipator is really good work music. It's just really good. It's just repetitive enough where it's not distracting. It's not like, dubsteppy or too four on the floor where it's like too high energy, but it's not going to put you to sleep either. It's just good, focused music. Cannot recommend Emancipator enough. I would, maybe other than like close relatives, I just can't imagine that anybody has listened to more Emancipator over the last decade of their lives than I have.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's a good one.
He went to school in my wife's hometown, but anyways, I digress.
Really?
Sorry.
Okay. I'd be curious what you think. It's like I only listen to it while being creative and working on tasks. Like it's not like a drive around the car music. It's like I'm thinking.
Got it.
It supports thinking, basically.
I love it.
And then the other one is an artist that I've started listening to a lot in the last, maybe tie back to last summer, but I don't really listen to albums that much. I like discovering music, so I'm always on just trying to discover different radios or playlists, just get me out of my comfort zone. And what ends up happening is I save individual songs to my own playlists. And so sometimes it takes me a while to realize, whoa, I actually really like this artist because I've saved like 6 of their songs individually. Yeah. And then I'll put it together. I'm like, oh, whoa. And then I click on like their artist page for the first time. And I realize I have the green checks by like their top 6 songs. Like, oh, I guess I'm a fan. I didn't even know I was a fan. I guess I'm a fan. Layup is my latest one where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've saved all their music individually. I love the guy's voice is a little different, a little bit polarizing. I'm gonna assume you haven't heard of Layup. Have you heard of Layup? This
Nope.
one's like, it's only like 2 million monthlies on Spotify, so it's not huge. It's great music. It makes you feel good. The guy's voice is very unique. Maybe you wouldn't like it. I like it. And I don't normally care about lyrics and much more what's the music making me feel. And unless they're like
Sure.
very explicitly singing about things that are not interesting to me, I just don't even, it's just an instrument to me.
Yeah, sure.
And except Layup's messaging is great. It's really encouraging in so many ways. A lot of things speak to me as like a young father. A lot of things are just about like enjoying a moment or being kind to people. It's very consistently just messaging that I feel good about supporting, and like it resonates. And so
Beautiful.
a big plus one to Layup. Quickly become a fan.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, all right, Emancipator and Layup. And again, back to my little idea. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it's the threshold that gets crossed where as soon as you like two of or three of the songs, that's the thing where it's like it hits you with the like, hey, you really like this artist that you've just been ambiently listening to. And I think that's really cool that it sounds like you're kind of aggressive with your like button. It maybe a little bit where you're just like kind of,
which
or
also
you're like
likes
tuning.
It.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I curate the playlist like I used to run a music blog, so that kind of has like trickled into I go way weird with Spotify. I have so many. If I'm ever in a moment where I feel like I don't have the perfect Spotify playlist, I create one, I date it and describe the moment in the description text, and then I populate the playlist. So I have this like set of playlists that are all tied to moments when I realized that its existence was warranted.
We're gonna do a follow-up session where I want to see the inner workings of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here and for everything and for sharing what you share into the world. And for those of you that or people who are listening that don't know who you are and where to find you and stuff, where could they go and follow along with what you're up to?
Dive.club is my podcast. Almost everything kind of goes through there. If you're on Twitter is where I mostly hang out. So rid_design that's kind of home base for me. If you Google me I'm on LinkedIn technically too, but Twitter is like that's home base. So find me there.
That's a good t-shirt. I'm on LinkedIn technically.
I actually really like that. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been a real treat, and happy Friday. Happy weekend.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate you having me on, Brad. I've consumed all of your writing and stuff for many, many years. So even just getting to hang is an honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. Thank you.